When men stop chasing and start listening, there comes a quiet evening in a man's life when everything that once demanded his attention suddenly loses its grip. The notifications stop mattering. The silence no longer feels like a threat, and for the first time in years, he isn't waiting for someone to text back or choose him. He just sits there, maybe under the faint glow of a desk lamp, maybe with the hum of the city in the background, and realizes something he never thought he would. He's fine. Not ecstatic, not euphoric, just steady, and that's enough. That's the moment a man begins to understand what monks, philosophers, and forgotten kings tried to tell us for centuries. Solitude isn't punishment, it's initiation. This awakening doesn't come through triumph, it often arrives after collapse. The kind of collapse that follows years of chasing validation, of bending just to be accepted, of performing strength while quietly bleeding inside. Then, one night, the world stops asking him to prove himself, and the silence teaches him something no relationship ever could, that peace is not found in being chosen, but in no longer needing to be. History's strongest men always found this truth in their own isolation. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet wrote his meditations in solitude, reminding himself that a man's worth is measured by the thoughts he chooses to entertain. Nikola Tesla died alone in a hotel room, yet left behind a legacy that powered the modern world. And in quieter ways, men today are rediscovering that same hidden current. That solitude, when faced with courage, refines rather than diminishes. For generations, men were told they were incomplete without someone beside them. That happiness only existed in pairs, that if you were alone, something was wrong with you. That myth was convenient. It kept men striving, consuming, performing. But something inside this generation snapped. The mask slipped, the performance ended. And one apartment, one late night, one deep breath at a time, a new narrative began to write itself. One where being alone doesn't mean being abandoned, but being awake. Modern men aren't running from love, they're walking toward peace. They're not anti-relationship, they're anti-chaos. The difference matters. The modern man doesn't hate connection, he's just tired of losing himself in the process of earning it. He's no longer willing to be misunderstood just to be tolerated. He's no longer trying to fix others while quietly collapsing inside. Instead, he's building something smaller but stronger, a life that feels like his own. You can see it everywhere if you look closely enough. In the man who stopped explaining himself at family dinners, in the one who traded late-night arguments for early morning workouts, in the one who moved into a small studio and learned to breathe again. These aren't stories of retreat, they're stories of rebirth. Society told men independence was admirable, but only if it served others. That solitude meant failure. That peace without partnership was shame. But the men waking up today are rewriting that script. They're rediscovering that freedom isn't the absence of love, it's the presence of self-respect. They're no longer ashamed to make coffee for one, to decorate a small room just for themselves, to enjoy the quiet of a night without noise. Because when a man stops defining his worth by the attention he receives, he begins to see clearly for the first time. The world built on guilt and control starts to lose its hold. A man who finds peace in his own company can't be manipulated by loneliness. He's no longer desperate to be seen. He's simply content to exist, fully, deliberately, quietly. The world calls this dangerous. It always has. Because the man who doesn't need validation becomes uncontrollable. You can't sell him distractions anymore. You can't shame him into compliance. You can't make him chase what he already carries inside. This is the true rebellion. Not loud, not public, but internal. The revolution of the solo man isn't about walking away from the world. It's about walking back to himself. So when you see a man alone in a dimly lit room, calm, grounded, unhurried, don't mistake that silence for sadness. You're witnessing the beginning of freedom, because for the first time, he isn't waiting to be completed. He's remembering he already was. And as this quiet movement spreads, from city to city, from apartment to apartment, a question begins to rise. If solitude can make a man this powerful, this peaceful, this clear, what does his world look like once he starts to build it from that peace? Redefining the bachelor pad. For decades, society mocked the image of the man who lived alone, the so-called bachelor, the one with the empty fridge, the unmade bed, the pizza box on the counter. They called him immature, irresponsible, unfinished. But that caricature belonged to another era, one that couldn't imagine a man designing solitude instead of suffering it. Today's solo man has reclaimed that space. He's turned what was once a symbol of failure into a sanctuary of purpose. Step inside his home and you'll notice the difference immediately. There's no chaos, no clutter, no noise, only clarity. The scent of roasted coffee replaces the echo of arguments. A single desk lamp casts a warm halo across a tidy room. A book lies open beside a journal filled with his own handwriting. This is not escapism. This is self-command. Every object in the room has intention. Every corner speaks of care. The place isn't large, but it's alive with order. Proof that peace doesn't need size, it needs structure. This evolution mirrors a broader truth about the modern masculine spirit. Men once built kingdoms to prove worth. Now they build inner sanctuaries to protect it. Look at how the wealthiest and most disciplined live. Billionaires like Warren Buffett still reside in modest homes they purchased decades ago. Tech founders design minimalist spaces stripped of excess, the same philosophy ancient Stoics preached 2,000 years ago. He who is contented with little, said Socrates, is rich. The solo man has rediscovered that principle and made it his architecture. The old bachelor pad was rebellion without purpose, a denial of responsibility. The new version is its opposite, responsibility without spectacle. The dishes are clean, not to impress a guest, but because discipline breeds clarity. The room is organized not for appearances, but for focus. Even the lighting matters, soft, warm, deliberate, a reflection of a man who no longer confuses chaos for passion. Walk through his space and you'll sense balance where confusion used to live. The quiet hum of lo-fi jazz replaces the constant chatter of social feeds. The refrigerator holds real ingredients instead of empty promises of delivery apps. He eats simply, sleeps deeply, and works intentionally. His solitude isn't withdrawal, it's optimization. Like an investor trimming waste from a portfolio, he cuts away distractions to make room for growth. And still, the world doesn't know how to interpret this. It praises men who sacrifice sanity for relationships that drain them, yet shames the ones who choose stillness. A man who tolerates dysfunction is called devoted. A man who steps back from it is called detached. But the truth is simpler. He's just tired. Tired of being measured by how much chaos he can endure. Tired of trying to fix what only fractures him. So he stopped running toward noise and started walking toward quiet. That quiet is not emptiness. It's recalibration. It's the same kind of silence CEOs crave when they take thinking retreats, a space to see the next move clearly. It's the silence emperors once sought in their private chambers after the war. It's not loneliness, it's strategy. The solo man's home reflects that inner order. His mornings begin in peace. He wakes not to an alarm, but to light filtering through curtains he chose himself. He brews coffee slowly, not rushing, not scrolling. The day starts with intention instead of interruption. His evenings end the same way. Quiet music, clean space, gratitude. No performance, no audience, just presence. And something profound happens in that stillness, the return of pride. Not the loud external kind that needs validation, but the quiet satisfaction of seeing your life aligned with your values. Making your bed becomes a ritual of grounding. Cooking dinner becomes meditation. Cleaning becomes self-respect. These simple acts are how he reclaims control, by mastering the mundane. It's ironic, isn't it? The world says the man who lives alone is avoiding love, when in truth, he's preparing for it. Because a man who can build peace for himself won't destroy it for someone else. He's learning to commit, not to another person first, but to his own standard. And in that commitment lies the seed of every healthy bond that could come later. This movement, quiet, steady, almost invisible, is spreading. Men are turning their apartments into temples of autonomy. They're learning that space can shape spirit, that simplicity can restore sanity. They're discovering that solitude isn't the absence of connection, it's the foundation of it. Because when a man finally feels at home in his own presence, he stops fearing silence. He starts listening to it. And in that silence, something far more transformative begins, not in his surroundings, but in his mind. When a man first finds himself alone, the quiet feels strange, like standing in a room where the echoes of old conversations still linger. The silence presses in, not as peace, but as reminder of who he used to be, of what he tolerated, of what he lost. For a while, solitude feels like withdrawal, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, the silence changes its texture. It stops being heavy and starts feeling whole. Because in that stillness, he begins to meet the person he's avoided the longest, himself. This is where the true transformation happens. Not in the gym selfies, not in the financial milestones, not in the external wins. It happens in those long, unspoken hours when there's nothing to prove, nothing to hide, and no one left to perform for. The masks come off, the noise fades, and in that quiet, a man begins to remember who he was before the world told him who to be. Great men throughout history knew this moment well. Nietzsche called it becoming who you are. Schopenhauer wrote that, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by armies and advisors, still returned nightly to his journal to make sense of his inner world. The same applies now. Modern men, stripped of illusion, rediscover what emperors and philosophers already knew. Solitude is not absence, it's revelation. The first lessons are uncomfortable. Without distraction, every buried emotion resurfaces. Regret, guilt, grief, all demand to be faced. But a strange thing happens when a man stops running from those shadows. They start losing their power. He realizes that peace isn't the absence of pain, it's mastery over it. So he begins to rebuild, one routine at a time. Mornings start earlier. The phone stays silent until after the first sip of coffee. The gym is no longer punishment, it's grounding. Reading becomes nourishment. Reflection replaces reaction. These are not grand gestures, they're subtle recalibrations, small acts of respect toward himself. And as he rebuilds, he begins to feel something society never taught him to value: control. Not control over others, that's the weak man's illusion, but control over himself, his impulses, his reactions, his focus. He learns that freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's knowing you could, but choosing not to. This is the discipline the ancient Stoics spoke of and the modern elite quietly practice. The CEO who blocks out his mornings for solitude, the artist who disappears for months to create, the investor who turns down noise to preserve clarity. All are modern echoes of the same philosophy. This inner structure becomes his fortress. The world can be chaotic, but his mind no longer bends with it. Fulfillment, he discovers, doesn't come from attention or applause. It hums in the background of a well-ordered life. It's the quiet satisfaction after finishing a book, the calm that follows a hard workout, the steady rhythm of knowing who you are and acting like it. And then comes the paradox. Once a man learns to be happy alone, he stops chasing what used to enslave him. He no longer needs love to fill a void. He attracts it naturally because he's whole. Relationships stop being rescue missions and become choices. He connects from abundance, not desperation. He listens better, loves cleaner, and walks away easier, because his self-worth is no longer negotiable. Fulfillment begins to take a new shape. It's not found in endless novelty, but in stability. Not in excess, but in enough. It's in those moments when he smiles to himself without reason, when he looks around his quiet apartment and realizes he's no longer surviving, he's actually living. The noise that once defined him, the arguments, the proving, the pretending, has been replaced by presence. He begins to fill his world with things that grow him instead of drain him. Books instead of gossip, walks instead of screens, conversations with substance instead of performance, hobbies that rebuild his creativity. These are his new allies, the instruments of wholeness. This isn't isolation, it's integration. He's no longer fragmented by expectation. He's united again. Mind, body, purpose, peace. And that inner unity radiates outward. His posture changes, his voice steadies, his eyes stop searching. There's a groundedness to him that can't be faked, the kind of quiet strength that unsettles the world because it doesn't seek approval from it. The truth is, once a man has mastered solitude, he can never truly be controlled again. The world loses its grip when you no longer fear being alone. And that's the threshold he now stands on, the point where the inner rebuild becomes the foundation for something greater. Because now that he's met himself, rebuilt himself, and learned to live in peace with himself, the next question arises naturally. What does a man like this build, not just inside, but out in the world, when the canvas finally belongs to him again? Once a man rebuilds his inner foundation, something extraordinary begins to happen. His outer world starts to reflect the calm within. His focus sharpens, his attention becomes sacred. For the first time in years, he stops living on autopilot and starts designing. No longer distracted by noise or approval, he asks the question that most men never pause long enough to ask. What kind of life actually feels like mine? This is where the solo man becomes an architect, not of structures, but of selfhood. His days are no longer reactive, they're crafted. He wakes not to obligation, but to purpose. The morning ritual becomes his cornerstone. Coffee made deliberately, space cleaned methodically, a brief journal entry anchoring his thoughts. It's not performance, it's precision. Because discipline is no longer a burden, it's proof that he's steering his own ship. You can see this pattern mirrored in the way the world's most grounded men live. Take Henry David Thoreau, who retreated to Walden Pond to live deliberately, not to isolate, but to simplify. Or modern examples like Naval Ravikant and Ray Dalio, men who speak of solitude as a strategy for clarity. Even the quiet billionaires of our time, the Buffetts, the Mungers, the Gates in their libraries, all share the same hidden blueprint: fewer distractions, greater direction. The solo man of today, though not rich by their standards, has tapped into the same philosophy. He learns that control is not dominance, it's design. His space becomes a mirror of his state, minimal, functional, uncluttered. Every item serves a purpose, every sound intentional. His finances follow the same rule. He spends on freedom, not on display. No arguments about spending, no explaining ambition to someone who doesn't share it. Every dollar becomes an expression of alignment, every decision a declaration of self-governance. He discovers that peace is not passive, it's active ownership of one's energy. He stops negotiating his time to please others, stops apologizing for his boundaries, stops justifying the need for silence. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. A man who's tasted peace knows what it costs to lose it, and he guards it like treasure. And yet, solitude doesn't harden him. It softens him in the right ways. He becomes more selective, not cynical. He values fewer friends, but deeper connections. The conversations grow slower, richer. He's done with circles that drain him. He seeks those that sharpen him. The men who understand silence, who talk in substance instead of surface. The kind who know that iron sharpens iron. In this phase, his world becomes lighter, not because he owns less, but because he needs less. The noise of comparison fades. The obsession with proving himself dies quietly. He no longer competes for visibility. He competes for peace. And paradoxically, that's when his life begins to flourish. His health stabilizes, his sleep deepens, his creativity returns. He starts making moves not from anxiety but from alignment. And the world notices, not because he's louder, but because he's still. There's a rare gravity in a man who walks with calm intent, the kind of presence that says, I've already fought my battles, and I no longer need to shout that I've won. He doesn't advertise peace, he embodies it. Society, of course, still doesn't understand him. It calls him selfish, cold, detached. But these are projections from people terrified of their own silence. Because when a man doesn't need constant validation, he becomes immune to manipulation. You can't bribe him with attention. You can't guilt him with loneliness. You can't shame him into conformity. A man who governs himself is a threat to any system built on dependency. This is why the solo man represents a quiet revolution, not against women, not against love, but against chaos. He's not rejecting connection, he's refining it. He's not escaping responsibility, he's reclaiming it. His rebellion is subtle, no protests, no slogans, just the radical act of living deliberately in a distracted world. And that's what makes him dangerous to the narrative, because his happiness doesn't need witnesses. He doesn't need to post his peace online. He doesn't need to prove his fulfillment through another person's presence. His validation comes from the only source that can't betray him, his own alignment. This is where modern masculinity quietly evolves. The future doesn't belong to louder men, but to grounded ones, the kind who build lives of substance, not spectacle. The ones who no longer chase noise because they've learned the richest sound in the world is silence. In the end, the solo man doesn't isolate himself from life. He integrates with it completely. He's not running from connection. He's saying, "I'll only open my door when peace walks in with you." And if the world calls that loneliness, so be it. Because there's nothing lonelier than pretending to be happy in a life that doesn't fit you. But there's everything to gain in living quietly, authentically, fully, on your own terms. He no longer chases approval. He no longer seeks rescue. He no longer waits for permission. He simply lives. He has become what every man secretly hopes to be, complete. And after a lifetime of noise, chasing, and proving, he finally realizes something profound. He isn't rebelling against the world. He's just at peace with himself. And that's his revolution.